way that they had multiple voting options to be able to cast their ballots. But as a result of all this, the Republicans actually filed, they quickly assembled a hearing. The Republicans extended voting period tonight. A judge will look at denied the suit. So in the end, the polls closed. We saw that first batch of results coming. So much at stake, both for the Republicans and.
And we'll come back to you shortly here. Back up the slates. For both the Senate race and the governor's race. First, the Senate, Mark Kelly. This is with 50% of the 51% of the vote in now. 8% to 39% for Blake Masters. Again, this is Maricopa County. It's also the mail-in vote that they in the past is Democratic, and in the jobs 57%, with 50% of the vote in. 32-9. Again, it's John. This is still attention grabbing.
I mean, but very of caution here as we look at adults. It looks like building up a lead over Mark Kelly's really building up a lead over Blake Masters. It all like Mark Finch, the person I know, the person that was at the Secretary of State is also losing from a slightly bigger margin, but count early mail-in vote in Arizona. And there was a big emphasis in this, a lot of the Republicans, especially the pro-Trump Republicans, to say they're going to vote on election trust mail-in voting. So there are more Republican votes to be counted in Arizona. But even so, David, it's going to become a very interesting race to watch over the course of the night because you're seeing a significant lead with a significant chunk of the vote in.
And it seems as though we're seeing election results that could change the course of history. Hopefully you guys are free-thinking, innovative, and open-minded. Tommy Nation Politics live stream Tuesday podcast special midterm coverage of, the results, the result of whatever you guys did. I call it, voting for the demise of our human civilization, but you guys might have chosen one gang, whether it be Jets or the Sharks. You might have chosen one of them to take power over the other. What's his name? Lindsay Sabato, a guy from the academia, guys. He's a political scientist and analyst. He founded this thing called the Center for Politics, which is pretty much just like it promotes civic engagement, helps to actually maintain facts, the propaganda-esque political discourse. So, ball predictions came out yesterday. Final race for the 2022 election season are geared towards the GOP, the Grand Old Party, set to take the Senate and House, plus small net gain in governorship and also other state houses. Like I said, this was sorted from the Center for American Politics. I'm sorry, the Center for Politics. Center for American Politics could be something else. Sounds like a think tank. But his predictions, they're more on the money than Nat Silver's were in 2016, I'm pretty sure. Now, of course, we're going to check out the toss-up races that are still continuing to be counted in the vote. We have Raphael Warnock, which is a toss-up in Georgia, leans Republican. But as you remember, some who shall remain nameless asked somebody in Georgia for 11,000 votes. Ever since then, it's been an red state Georgia has. Joe Biden won that state in his election. And so it could go with Raphael Warnock or his challenger, Herschel Walker. They're both morons. Cortez in Nevada, toss up. Pennsylvania, Toomey, Republican, started to lead a little bit more liberal over in the Pennsylvania area, of course, because we're on drugs. You know, the Democrats seem to be more, they have the words. They have the words to go with the ending the war on drugs. They're not on drugs, but they have the decorum for that. Those are the battle state races as far as the senators go, and like I said, Center for the and for Senate Sabato says that the GOP is set to take the House and the Senate, which means Nancy Pelosi will no longer be Speaker of the House. And if that happens tonight, the reason I'm staying up is I'm gonna have to see exactly what the fuck she's gonna say, especially after the czar husband and a hammer. It's very interesting, guys. So all of these, don't forget, guys. The Democrats and Republicans, they're working together. They made backroom deals. They made alliances. They did things behind closed doors in smoke-filled rooms. They did grand bargains. You're voting for them because you believed in Rick. You're morons. But these guys have other plans, other agendas. And we're about to see exactly what about this past year. What these guys were actually worried about. Whose did they get a hold of? What kind of powers did they get a hold of? Did they get oil influence? Did they get war profiteer influence? This all come into fruition, guys. Right now. It's also going to come into fruition, guys. Guys, they do the same strategies, the same misleading techniques of communication. And while it, for free thinkers is easy to figure out, they're only maintaining a circus to distract you from the truth of things. And they only wish to maintain power, serve you. It's funny. We have so many people hearkening back to old elections and maybe reminding even some of us hardcore partisans that this is a big club and you're not in it yet. Before I end my live stream, I'm going to show that top 5 countdown of the most propaganda-esque campaign videos. But guys, I want to introduce you to some of the results because sorry, my videos wouldn't upload. But there it is, guys. And plus, I'm glad I didn't live stream at 8 because nothing was happening at 8. Like literally, the polls had closed. We're gonna give you some news, some facts. We're gonna hearken with political commentary, and as always, we're gonna be free thinking, innovative, and open-minded, guys. So buckle up, Buttercup.
Warning, you are about to enter a free-thinking, innovative, open-minded environment. Be advised, this is the Tommy Nation Politics Tuesday live stream.
Hey guys, this is Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics. How's everyone doing today? Tommy Nation Politics.
50% of our people who are living paycheck to paycheck. And as we speak tonight, half of our people in this country, the richest country in the history of the world, are living paycheck to paycheck.
Like people having health care and not killing the planet. And the more those demographic groups move away from the party, the easier it is to keep the establishment firmly in place.
Hey guys, this is Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics. How's everyone doing today?
We're moving forward at a pace that was unimaginable just a short time ago, and we are never, ever going back.
So Mrs. Clinton seems to be resurrecting her infamous deplorables attitude. and broadening her sneering even further. Bold strategy. As we all recall, Hillary is gloriously 0 for 2 in presidential elections. Obama beat her back for the nomination of the Democratic Party in 2008. Then Trump beat her for the White House in 2016. But she did win a New York Senate seat a few times. So I guess she thinks that qualifies her to inveigh against the electorate, which she does somewhat frequently. Last night, she went on, where else? MSNBC, to talk with a notorious conspiracy theorist and phony victim of hacking about her party's chances next week.
Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton joined several New York leaders and other prominent officials on Thursday to campaign for Governor Kathy Hochul's re-election. The event, held at Barnard College, aimed to specifically get women out to the polls. Clinton took aim at Hochul's opponent, Republican Congressman Lee Zeldin, and Donald Trump for, quote, literally fighting tooth and nail to turn back the clock. She also lambasted Kari Lake for joking about the recent attack on Nancy Pelosi's husband. Current polls show Hochul leading Zeldin by a slight margin.
I am so excited to be here with all of you. I want to thank all the Columbia Democrats for hosting. It is so good to be back at Barnard and to be with so many representatives of our government at the local, state, and national level.
Johnny.
In front of you.
Free thinking, innovative, and totally open.
And for the best biryani?
You're holding it.
Broadening her sneering. Like a pimple on prom, Hillary Clinton has exploded back onto the scene, just in time to help ruin the midterms for the Democrats. Hi, everyone. I'm Guy Benson in for Kennedy tonight.
I think with all of the noise that we've got in this election season, I don't think people are able to really grasp that. But more importantly, I'm not sure they really understand the threats to their way of life.
There's so much noise. The threats to their way of life. Measured, sensible as always. But what arrogance? Voters look like they're preparing to back Republicans all across the country because they're unhappy with what's happened to their way of life under total Democratic control.
You could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it.
A lot of political analysts would tell you that that quote right there inflamed her opposition, harmed her chances of winning that election, which of course she lost, and now she's back to her old tricks. As a matter of fact, what we saw in that interview this week was even worse than that. That was like the deplorables were just like a small part of the electorate. This is the entire American electorate. They just don't really know. They can't understand what's happening, according to Mrs. Clinton.
The Gibbs-Trump agenda is too conservative for West Michigan. DCCC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
What should the future deliver?
Guys, isn't it weird that most of the campaign finance contracts that are delivered for politicians go into a war chest and then they're handed out to various super PACs the next election season? Like Trump, he dove into his war chest, got out $9 million as according peons. I don't know, Trumpists, America First, what do you call those people? Proteges? Kari Lake, I could tell she's changed really, and probably her personality, to act and sound exactly like Donald Trump. That's probably going to help her win Arizona. You know these guys, whatever it takes. Whatever it takes, guys. Whether or not we elevate Trump as a we can elevate him as a Pied Piper strategy, and then we can beat him in the general election because he's such an extremist. This is a recurring strategy, guys, that has been ongoing. I thought it was very interesting and risky when WikiLeaks reported that Hillary Clinton did that to Donald Trump, of course. But if you look at the details, if you've been really reading the mainstream media and not the headlines, there's been a real guys, of both parties buying ad buying for the other party. It's a very interesting phenomenon. Telling you people, whoever side you're on, they get you with the open borders, the law and order, the what else is a buzzword for you guys? Trans. They put in these little words for you guys, both parties, to get you to try to vote for another candidate. It's very interesting, guys. I want to show you this. This was on Vox, and it's true. Famously, Steny Hoyer, the DCCC, he first started this whole strategy back in, I think it was the early 2000s. And it's really progressed or gotten out of control. I guess it just depends on what do you think, guys. But check this out. Pretty extreme.
Hey guys, this is Tommy, Tommy Nation Politics. How's everyone doing today?
Record spending is projected this year when it comes to political ads.
We saw plenty during the run-up to the primary election this week, and as Western News political reporter Greg Fox explains, it's expected to reach close to $10 billion by the time voters cast their ballots in the November general election.
It takes a farmer, not a fake.
Is an anti-choice extremist. He's helped Ron DeSantis
vote to end the extreme. They're popping up on your living room TVs, and their tone can be nasty.
Nobody wants to hear from you.
If you think you're seeing more political ads than ever, you're right.
Nationally, we expect 2022 to be the largest political ad spending cycle of all times.
Ben Tabor is the senior account manager at Ad Impact, which tracks across the country and here in Florida the money spent on political TV commercials. Broadcast television remains king, garnering 52% of what candidates spend, but connected TV through devices like Xbox, PlayStation, and Apple TV is now targeted by 15% of the ads, rivaling cable at 16%.
It surpasses not only 2018, the previous midterm cycle, but we have already passed that number to date this year, but we are projecting we are going to pass the 2020 presidential cycle.
U.S. political ad spending is projected to reach $9.7 billion, up about $600 million from 2020 and more than double the $3.9 billion spent in 2018. Just in Florida, $135 million is expected to be spent on the U.S. Senate race, $60 million on the governor's race, and all other state and local races will reach $252 million. That's a total of $447 million in the Sunshine State.
It is that time of year. Political ads have started filling up commercial spots ahead of the primary June 28th. Well, Denver 7 political reporter Megan Lopez has been analyzing those ads. And she found a Democratic tactic may actually wind up helping Republicans.
How conservative is Ron Hanks?
On its face,
Hanks was rated one of the most conservative members in the State House.
it looks like an attack ad.
He says Joe Biden's election was a fraud.
One trying to convince voters that State Representative Ron Hanks is not the candidate for Colorado.
Ron Hanks, too conservative for Colorado.
This ad and another targeting gubernatorial candidate Greg Lopez used the same language.
Greg Lopez is too conservative for Colorado.
Both are paid for by Democratic groups in the midst of a primary election, so we took them to marketing professor Darren Duber-Smith.
A lot of the political ads are geared toward the consumer forming a negative perception.
He says political or not, the principles of advertising are the same. Branding and repetition, repetition and branding.
Eventually, the target market learns that this candidate is whatever that word is, and in this case, it's the word conservative.
But as with everything in politics, there's more to these ads than meets the airwaves.
I think this is a more targeted message where, again, you're trying to paint somebody as conservative, which to the one side is a bad thing. To the other side, that's a good thing.
Because the ad is attacking Senate candidate Joe O'Dea's opponent, you would think his campaign would like it.
This is just too far. It's dishonest, and it's inauthentic.
But strategist Josh Penry wants to make it clear that O'Dea's campaign had nothing to do with them. In fact, they believe these ads were an attempt by Democratic groups to do the opposite of what they say and support Hanks.
What this campaign that Schumer and his super PACs are providing for Ron is two things: massive name ID, and basically a sales job that he's a conservative targeted to conservative audiences.
They say Democrats are trying to back a candidate they believe they can beat in the general election. So looking back at that Hanks ad, there are conservative buzzwords like ban abortions and increase access to guns. On the Lopez ad, the words oppose gay marriage and unapologetically pro-life appear, things that may actually attract conservative voters.
First of all, I never got involved in any of those efforts, although they were used in my own state by the Governors Association. But what I think is ironic, people say, oh, this is, undermining. What did Democrats do, or the Governors Association, or the DCCC, what did they? They told the voters in any particular district, whether it was a state or a congressional district or a local election, what one of the candidates was. And they chose the most radical, unqualified, dangerous alternative. That's sad.
I've been critical of that. It may work to our advantage. It may also elect somebody far more extreme than we would have gotten.
Country. It's an honor to be here. They've done a fantastic job inside. I think that is close. But I think we're going to have a very big night, and it's going to be very exciting to watch. Well, I think number one is going to be crime. It's going to be keeping your taxes low. We gave the biggest tax cut in history. We gave the biggest regulation cuts in history. As you know, the Democrats want to raise that all up. We want to keep the taxes low. I think you have to close up the border, and you have to do it quickly because we have millions and millions of people coming into our country, and our country is being destroyed. So that'll happen. That'll absolutely happen. But you have to fight crime. You have to fight to keep our taxes low, and you have to do something about the border, and it has to be done now. Our country has gone very bad. It's lost its way. It's lost its confidence. It's gone very bad. Thank you all. Thank you all.
People are always calling me up and saying, you need to play hardball. But if hardball means basically gaming the system, being really Machiavellian, I think that doesn't help us in the long run. It makes the moderate or even the firmly conservative Republican have to worry more about a challenge from his extreme right. And so I wish we wouldn't do that.
I do not see the criticism of that being legitimate in the sense that we told the truth of who Dan Cox was, or other radical.
The misdirection in the Democratic ads is they are intended to be positive ads for Ron Hanks.
Democratic Colorado is spending $780,000 on the Ron Hanks ads, while the Colorado Information Network is spending another $688,000 on the ads about Greg Lopez. The Colorado GOP called this deceptive dark money interference in elections. But Democratic groups deny these allegations, saying the ads are what they purport to be, a warning that these candidates are too conservative. Back with Darren Duber-Smith.
It's risky. It's risky to do this type of advertising, and I don't think it's particularly effective.
He says positive ads always work better than negative ones, and even as someone who teaches advertising,
I really sort of tune out these ads. I got to be honest with you, because I don't tend to like them.
That could be difficult, though, the further along in the election we get and the more political ads that hit the airwaves. Megan Lopez, Denver 7.
And we should note that national Republican groups have been accused of using the same advertising tactic in Colorado in the past, most recently in the primary race between John Hickenlooper and Andrew Romanoff.
The Republicans chose that alternative as opposed to a Peter Meyer.
Hey guys, this is Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics. How's everyone doing today? Tommy Nation Politics.
This is Republican State Senator Doug Mastriano. He's the Republican who's ahead in the polls for governor.
Earlier this year, Democrat Josh Shapiro spent $840,000 on this ad for far-right Republican candidate Doug Mastriano.
He wants to end vote by mail, and he led the fight to audit the 2020 election.
In June, the Democratic Colorado PAC funded this ad for far-right candidate Ron Hanks. And you better believe that back in May, the Democratic Governors Association ran this ad for the far-right Republican Darren Bailey. Before I explain what's going on, look at this ad. This one was funded by a Nancy Pelosi PAC in California. Try to remember that while you're watching it, because this is what these ads look like in practice.
Same label, so Republicans gotta check the ingredients. David Valadao claims he's Republican. Yet, David Valadao voted to impeach President Trump. Yeah, Valadao voted to impeach Trump. And Republican Chris Matisse, a true conservative, 100% pro-Trump and proud. Pro-Trump Republican Chris Matisse, military veteran, local businessman. Or politician David Valadao, who voted to impeach Trump. Republicans, it's time to decide. House Majority PAC is responsible for the content of this ad.
All these ads are essentially the same. They're all targeted at a conservative audience, and they all paint the candidates in the same way, as the most conservative candidate that's closest to Trump. In other words, as the Republican voter's best choice. What the f is going on? In simple terms, the Democratic Party is literally funding far-right politicians. Not just the opposition, not just any Republican, but the extreme wing of the GOP. If you're new here, allow me to be the first to welcome you to the shining city on a hill and beacon of democracy that is the US. Don't mind the fire. These ads are really, really weird. Not just because one party is funding another, that's already insane. It's the specific kinds of candidates being funded. The kind of candidates Democrats say they hate. If you've been following them for a while, you might remember this clip of Joe Biden talking about how America needed a strong and principled Republican Party.
We need a Republican Party. We need an opposition that's principled and strong.
And it's not just Joe. Nancy Pelosi said the same thing about needing a strong Republican Party earlier this year. She told the press that she was really bummed about the GOP being, quote, hijacked by extremists. But less than 4 months later, she was the one paying for the hijackers' plane tickets. At first, this might look like hypocrisy. Democrats say they want a moderate opposition, but they fund the far right. They say one thing, do another, we, the public, catch them in a lie, and bim bam boom, democracy is saved and we can all go home. But that's actually not what's happening. There is nothing hypocritical about Democrats saying they want a moderate opposition and then funding a far-right challenger. That's because these are actually two sides of the same political strategy coin. A strategy that, as we'll see, not only reveals the class interest of the Democratic Party, but shows us one of the mechanical ways our capitalist society is decaying into fascism. If that sounds dramatic, just wait. I promise you it's not. But let's go from the beginning, and start by explaining why Democrats are funding these candidates in the first place. The first thing to know is that midterms are coming up and the Democrats are terrified. Biden's numbers are in the trash, and all reliable, funding a war in a foreign country isn't working quite as well as it usually does. There is little hope that Democrats will get a majority again, so they need a way to tilt the odds in their favor, and they've figured out how. Democrats are hoping that by making a bunch of far-right nutjobs win GOP primaries, two things will happen in general elections. One, moderate Republicans will be outraged and vote for a more centrist blue candidate, and two, solidly left-wing voters will also be outraged and vote for the lesser of two evils out of necessity. And the problem is that this strategy has worked for them before. In 2012, another Democrat, Claire McCaskill, spent $1.7 million on ads for the ultra-conservative Todd Akin, more than Akin spent himself. The result? Akin got a boost in the polls as soon as the ads started running, won the GOP primary, and then lost against McCaskill in the general election. This wasn't an accident, and it wasn't even a secret. McCaskill herself said, "There were 3 viable candidates, and Todd Akin was kind of the weirdest one. I knew he might say some weird things if he were nominated. And he had less money, so we took a poll and figured out what Republican voters would really like about him." She even went on to write this article about it. Democrats fund these campaigns because they win when their opposition are far-right weirdos. Except when they don't. Funding a far-right candidate and saying they want a moderate opposition are two ways for the Democrats to do the same thing, to position the Democratic Party as the only reasonable political choice. By saying that the Republicans are being hijacked by extremists and then actively funding that hijacking, the Democrats are creating an image of themselves as the only remaining bastion of democracy, the only way to vote that won't actively tear the country down. At least until the Republicans go, quote-unquote, back to normal. which Democrats know will never happen. Democrats are reliant on the right being represented by the worst guy imaginable, and will actively work to make that the case. Either, as we see here, with direct funding, or more commonly, by pitting themselves only against candidates like Trump. Clinton never campaigned against guys like Jeb Bush. Her opponent was only whoever was the farthest to the right and could make her supporters most upset. She drummed up a radical opposition because it's a much safer strategy than running against someone who shared a lot of her ideas. But this strategy has a couple different outcomes. It might, as Democrats hope, bring some moderate Republicans to their side and get more blue voters out to the polls. Maybe. But it might completely backfire and their funding will just have gotten more far-right wackos into politics. No one can know for sure what's going to happen come election time. What is guaranteed, though, is that this lesser of two evil strategy allows the Democrats to move further right and still get votes from left-wing voters. And it actively promotes fascism. More ad spots featuring quasi-fascist politicians, brandishing fascist slogans, and actively supporting the president who, so far, has embodied fascism the most, all promote the popularity of fascism in the US. That is undeniable. At the end of the day, fascism is getting more airtime, convincing more conservatives, and the Democrats are absolutely to blame. With not the best odds of winning, and with the knowledge that this strategy promotes ultra-conservative politics in America, why would the Democrats run these ads? After all, Democrats aren't fascists, they're liberals. There is a difference. Why are they going with a risky strategy that, even in its best case scenario, actively makes society worse? There are two explanations. One, mechanical, at the party level. This strategy is a direct product of the way the Democratic Party is organized. Another, at the societal level. This strategy is the product of how our entire economy is organized. Let's start with that second one. You may have heard the phrase, fascism is capitalism in decay. That sentence is used to say that as capitalism starts failing the people it usually benefits, starts decaying, it concedes strategic ground to fascism in order to survive. It's an idea that gained traction in the 20th century when socialists realized that capitalism wasn't being replaced by socialism like they expected. World War I and the Great Depression, brought on by a global economic crash, didn't lead to socialism replacing capitalism's global hegemony. Instead, reactionary movements started popping up everywhere, most notably in Germany and Italy. Capitalism hadn't been replaced by socialism, it had adapted into something new, fascism. A political economic system that didn't look like capitalism, and that often even gave up on, quote, free markets, but that preserved the private ownership and profits of the capitalist class. The same people were on top, but things looked a little different. Here's how socialists explain something like this happening. As capital concentrates into fewer and more powerful monopolies, as the rate of profit falls, as more and more people are kicked into poverty and those remaining in the workforce are increasingly overworked, the conditions that produce fascism begin to appear. Monopoly capitalism, the inevitable outcome of winner-take-all competition, leads to economic stagnation and crashes. The first victims of this stagnation and these crashes are, of course, the working class, as we saw in the Great Depression, 2008, and with the COVID recession. Millions of people are suddenly thrust into poverty and can't make ends meet. The thing is that within this context, governments are no longer able to rule as they usually do. They have to resort to more direct violence to keep their hold on power. People's demands are no longer brushed away by politicians in assemblies. They're actively resisted with cops on the street. For example, when people start demanding to defund the police or for a price freeze on basic necessities. Political stagnation is just no longer an option for capitalist governments now that tens of millions of people's immediate needs aren't being met. So to preserve that political gridlock that is so stable and profitable, governments get used to scaling up the violence. But when people need to vote you in to govern, governments need to find a justification for this sudden growth in state violence. And this is where fascism comes in. Fascists usually explain the decay of capitalism not by the inherent flaws of the system, but by its corruption by a small minority. A minority usually separated out from the rest of society along arbitrary lines, like race, ethnicity, or place of birth. Fascists assert that it is these minorities, not the natural tendency for wealth to accumulate into fewer hands under capitalism, that has pushed the masses into misery, and therefore that state violence is legitimate in order to punish those minorities and anyone who defends them or advocates for systemic change. After all, the system is perfect. It's those people that are the problem. Fascists explain away the failure of the system and its sudden uptick in violence with scapegoating. It's as simple as that. Because this kind of narrative is beneficial to established capitalist governments, this struggle for power gets mirrored at the national level. Governments that benefit from capitalism would rather concede to fascism and keep their benefits, rather than allow for socialism to grow in popularity and upset their power and private interests. This theory of fascism is how socialists explain the 20th century. But practically speaking, how does this concession to fascism actually happen? What exactly is it that has to take place for fascism to gain this kind of place in society and government? This is where the Democratic Party comes in. You probably know that another idea, socialism, has gained traction these past few years. Around 70% of millennials and Gen Z say they are somewhat or extremely likely to vote for a socialist. And nearly a quarter of them believe society would be better if all private property was abolished. Faced with this demographic information, the Democrats have two choices. Either they adopt socialist policies, or they win elections. The thing is, they can't do both, not at a party-wide level. That's because the Democrats aren't just contending with the public's pressure when they run for office. While the public may want socialism, more than ever before, not every Democrat can adopt socialist rhetoric and policies into their program. That's because at the core of every Democrat's strategy is the question of how do you get funding? Average people don't contribute that much to political campaigns. And very wealthy people will not fund a party with policies that threaten their profits. They just won't. Not if that threat starts becoming real. A few socialists in the party is okay, but a party that embraces socialism can't afford to run nearly as many ads. That means that Democrats who support socialist policies will have to fight an upstream battle. They'll need to fundraise at a much more grassroots level. They'll have to contend with constant villainization in media institutions owned and operated by some of the wealthiest people on Earth. And they will constantly deal with the pressure of simply existing within a party that is not hospitable to socialist ideas. That doesn't necessarily mean they can't succeed, it just means it's the hardest path to success. With these kinds of challenges, many more Democrats will take the easy win of running against a far-right opponent to try to capture centrist voters. Fascism grows just because it's easier. This kind of system doesn't need anyone to be evil. It doesn't need anyone to lie, nobody needs to be actively dishonest. Enough people just need to follow the path of least resistance. It is in the material interest of Democrats to not concede any more ground to socialism than is absolutely necessary for their survival. And by comparison, it's much easier to fund and then run against the far right. The more their platform is influenced by the anti-capitalist left, the more likely they are to lose elections. So without trying to make fascism more popular, just by being okay with it happening to win elections, fascism gains traction in our society. This is not the only way fascism takes over, but man is it an effective one. That is why I constantly talk about alternative networks of power on this channel. Why I focus so much on the institutions of our government and how they're constructed. Why I keep telling you to organize, unionize, participate in mutual aid, and study up and disseminate information on alternatives to the capitalist economic model. The natural tendency of our elected institutions and political parties is to prioritize capitalism, even when it fails most people and starts relying on fascism to survive. Our institutions were built with preserving capitalism in mind, not to be accurate reflections of the public's will, especially when the public turns to socialism. Without building institutions that can resist this natural tendency, this country will comfortably slide into fascism. We can and we must put a stop to it. The US is kind of in a boiling frog scenario. We're not just gonna wake up one day and someone will have flipped the fascism switch. It's a process, and we're already pretty far along.
We're already pretty much there, guys. A capitalist system has to have fascism. It's easier. These points go hand in hand with what I'm seeing here as far as the Democrats and Republicans taking out ads, financing and funding candidates from other parties. They would rather go, it's funny, they go and talk about how you're an extremist, they talk about how you're a radical person, they talk about how our government, they talk about how basically we should probably conform, right? We should, give decorum to the conventional wisdom and the social norms. Did you vote today? Oh yeah. Oh yeah, man. No, I didn't vote. Why didn't you vote? It's your voice, man. Isn't that's your right? That's your duty. It's so funny, guys. I asked people if they voted today, and some people said, the majority said yes, right? Yeah, of course I did. Yeah, man. Of course. Yeah. So I asked this one guy, who I'm friends with, Draw. He got a guy and try to make it a living wage, provide for his family. He wants to not dip below the poverty line. He wants to maybe have health care for his kids, maybe for him. Maybe he wants to have a retirement. He wants these things. He's working for them. So that's how I know. But ask him if he votes. Did you vote today, Draw? He's like, yeah. Then he stopped for a bit because we were drinking. He was like, no, I didn't. I was like, that's funny that you said yes. Why'd you say yes? Because when you, this is hilarious, guys. The lengths they go through force the delusions of reality. So they have no cares about the American. Let's just break this down. These Republicans have no cares about the American people. How do we know this? During the COVID relief bill, it took them almost a year and vacations in Martha's Vineyard to try to hammer out any kind of relief for American people. But in 48 hours, they bailed out banks, Wall Street, military-industrial complex. They even increased the military's budgets. It was very interesting, guys. That's how I know the Democrats and Republicans. That's an example of how I know the Democrats and Republicans don't give a shit about us, right? So that's my evidence, and there's more. But to just be succinct, guys, we take this evidence to our minds and we say, in order to exercise our voice, we're going to have to vote for which people get elected office to serve our will, right? So we pick a Republican or a Democrat. And really, they can say all they want about whatever you want to. They can be real with you, authentic. They can say whatever they want to say, but at the end of the day, why aren't these socialist American first policies that enhance our life, liberty, and happiness? Why can't these Medicare for all things? Why can't these things happen? Why can't we have a jobs program? No? Why can't we have a raise in the minimum wage or something that actually takes, the cost of living and other factors? And why can't we raise the minimum wage like that? Because, guys, at the end of the day, they can say whatever they want to say. Who's going to fund them? Who's going to fund them? Why isn't Medicare for all in the House floor? Speaker Pelosi? Who's going to fund Nancy Pelosi? Is United Healthcare going to fund Nancy Pelosi? No. Is Pfizer going to fund Nancy Pelosi? No. So you can want Medicare for all you want, guys. 90% of the country. But are you Pfizer? Are you United Healthcare? Then thank you for your sacrifice. Guys, thank you for your sacrifice, George Floyd. Yeah, you don't matter. We'll tell you some fun story about how you have to help out the community, or you have to do this, stay home for everybody. Do it for the kids, do it for the grandmas. We'll tell you some story about how you did something. It was very virtuous. You could feel virtuous about yourself. We're going to go ahead and lower your cost of living. We're going to decrease your ability to provide for your kids. We're going to raise your tuition fees. But, we told you that story. The Democratic Party is a story, guys. The story is so wrong. It's a story where everything they say is a lie. And while they're lying, there's money trails of them funding America first, Trumpist Republicans. These guys, they said that they were extremists. They said they were insurrectionists, guys. Think of how amazingly ridiculous they lie. And then they just create more lies to reinforce other lies. None of it makes sense. So Trump's he's a threat to democracy. Who elevated him as a Pied Piper in the election? Who decided that that these races were going to be funded by Democrats? At the end of the day, these Democrats would rather go right. They would rather go right. They would rather a Trump. They would always rather a Trump than any kind of way to threaten a system that's giving them campaign finance contributions, making their wealthers, wealthy beyond imagination. More, it's a cycle of greed. People think that these economic theories of government, like capitalism and socialism, like you tell a Republican this, oh yeah, it's free stuff. You tell a Democrat this, oh yeah, it's a way to have all for everyone, make sure nobody's left out. At the end of the day, guys, none of these things mean anything anymore. There is no economic theory for greed. There's an elite wealth, there's an elite class. There's an elite class, and all of their needs are being met, and none of ours are being met. So what I'm learning, guys, more and more is that this insurrection, if you think it was an insurrection, there's going to be violence. Everybody knows that, because that's the next place it goes. Violence is next. The question now is whether we, the people, do the violence, or the government does the violence and sanctions it as a virtuous way to do things, like they did the crime bill, remember, guys? You see how fascism is an easy step out? It's a virtuous, the system is not wrong. Our authority figures are not wrong. We are your authority. We are your leaders. This man is stepping out of place. He is not within the bounds of the conventional wisdom and social norms. He did not vote today. He is not using his voice. Yes, yeah, well, I mean, it's not working anymore, guys. So what's next? Calling people Russian trucker traitors, calling people Russian bots didn't work. What's next? Calling people fucking conspiracy theories? It didn't work, guys. What's next? Calling people that believed that your vaccine was 64% effective because they saw the studies that you didn't even want? Yeah, what's next, guys? Violence. Violence is next. Because sooner or later, a lot of us are going to really just take all these things that I just listed about what they lied about, and we're going to say to ourselves, these guys are not our leaders. These guys are not, they're not even, they're only thinking about one thing, guys. Who's going to fund them? So that's why we have, of course, with funds, there's advertising and there's marketing. There's ways to get you guys to say, to snap into their frequency, I guess. The little buzzwords they feed you. Open borders. Let's see if I can list a string of them. Open borders, law and order, woke, all this jibba jabba. Yeah, we put all that in an ad, and oh, wow, that was radical. No, it's not radical. Socialism. It's socialismic. It's newspeak. It's a way to say to ourselves, what are these results really saying, guys? And what are they? Let's see.
Typically don't think about democracy as taken often in this country. What their number one is. And right now we're in front of the recorder's office. I was ago, and speaking of election security, this entire space is barricaded. It's like a fortress of protesters inside of this space. Last time around, 4 days, you can't even get anywhere close. It just shows the shift in the left taking place, especially right here in this purple states.
Now, Democrats are facing a closer than expected Republican Blake Masters. Where are their close to voters?
So I'm going to tell you where they're campaigning.
They're going to tell you one thing, guys. We're going to tell you here. This is my closing. I'll pretend I'm him. To the he's going to say law and order, open borders, crime, reverse white racism. People are woke, and we need to put on our bootstraps and read the Bible again. Thank you very much. Have a great night. And then the Democrats going to say trans, everybody, America, togetherness, LGBTQ, hashtag army. And thank you. Very good night. And then they're going to go and ask themselves, who's going to... Yes, I'll do this. Of course.
And then I'm going to tell you who campaigning with and see if you can pull it from that. So Mark Kelly's he's going to be campaigning Democrats there, at least Democrats. And then you have Blake Masters, who's going to be the entire slate of Republicans tonight. The campaign event called Cowboys. There's a sense of unity amongst the Republicans here. And when Mark Kelly, he has not with the president, Biden. He has campaigned with Flotus and with Obama, but he's himself from the president, who of course has poll ratings.
So guys, as you see these results, as I was saying, and you witness the real things that she's saying, but like the questions she's asking, completely valid questions. What she's saying in response is literally ridiculous. Yeah, what are going to be the takes on that? First, we're going to have to see the unity within the Republican Party. Oh, there was not a unity? There was not a unity there, huh? Mark Kelly, he's distancing himself from Biden. Let's see, Mark Kelly is winning his race. He must realize that Biden has a 30 approval rating. You guys suck. And you're probably going to get not the House or the Senate back for your failures. So Republicans, on the other hand, like, what are you going to do with this? Are you going to fucking have us bomb China? Who knows? It's going to be something with Republicans. They're going to do it in a way where it's going to be tied to Jesus, America, and liberty. But they'll fucking definitely bomb or infiltrate a country. They haven't had a chance really yet, but they will. So what else are these guys going to do? I have my own, guys, by the way, predictions. Of course, I don't really give a shit about who's in the House, who's in the Senate, who's in the presidency. They're only asking who's going to fund me. They're puppets of the rich. But I do have some predictions about what's going to happen in the very near future. Like I said, first thing is violence. Because there's just only like enough amount of lying you can do to people. Everything that makes you realize that they don't work. I don't get paid enough. Fuck you guys. Why would I vote for any of you? Why? How do these things not make sense? How do these things make sense? How do these things not make sense? Either way, I ask that question. I don't know. But it appears that he's going to win his race. Let me read some of your. So this is from NBC, guys, by the way. Live polls have closed in more than half the states in the 2022 midterms. Yes, today is the final voting day. It's just the final day of your decisions, your voice. Choose it, use it, or lose it. Our reporters are working around the clock to bring you essential information about midterm elections. Whew. We depend on support for people like you to do this virtual vital work and more. Donate today. Thank you. New York Times. Democratic Representative Elaine Luria loses her reelection bid in Virginia. I don't care. Democrat Gavin Newsom reelected to California governorship. Well, fuck you guys. Try to recall him. This guy, he do whatever. He's got great hair. He believes in God and guns. The Democrats of California, guys, they've got bro. Have you noticed the California politicians? They can say whatever the fuck they want. Anybody's husband can fucking hit anybody with a hammer or do insider trading or drive drunk in Napa Valley with a Porsche. Like, these guys just do whatever. Kevin McCarthy, I'd like to say you're a traitor. These guys, can you believe them? The incumbent governor the incumbent governor was in a comfortable position. Okay, so they're talking about Newsom. After fending off a recall last year. Yep, 62% of the vote, guys. That's what they say. Who knows if what was real or what was not, but judging you guys, it was all real. Like, why do they even need to interfere with our elections? They can already interfere with your fucking mind. All they have to do is say open borders and shit. Spent much of his fall's campaign season for other Democratic, was it stumping, whatever they call it, for other Democratic candidates and causes. So it seems like Newsom has 62% approval, and Biden has 31? Why isn't Newsom going to be the next Democratic president nominee? I mean, if he's doing so well. He's doing so well, bro. Why did you even try to recall him in the first place if you got 62%? It's probably because he did something he probably did something weird, right? He should resign for. Guy, we should probably look into that. Why do they want to recall him in the first place? Was it the COVID thing? Is that thing even happening anymore for real? Who knows? It's not happening in Texas. So, by the way, Greg Abbott. He once again Beto a loser, bro. Beto losing twice. Aww. I was trying to figure out if Beto, he held office. He was some kind of city council guy for El Paso. And then he tried to run for governor. Right? He tried to run for president. And then he dipped out the first week. Did he try to run for governor before? I think he did. Yeah, because I didn't know that guy before. That's how guys, fact check was, obviously, Beto ran for governor before. He didn't do better. Out his emotional behavior about how he wants to help so much, and you're doing nothing. But when we see, do you have a plan for what you're saying? What would you do, Beto? What if you asked Beto, what would he do? It doesn't work out so well. So at least it's a waffler. He goes back and forth on shit. He's a Republican. I hate that guy. But it looks like everybody's back, bro, for the second class, except for like I said, Sabato predicted a House for the Republicans and the House for the Senate for the Republicans. Sorry, guys. I've been watching this shit all day. It's just driving me insane. Because, what's funny is that the Democrats have been so busy with January 6th that they really haven't taken the opportunity to just ask the Republicans what you would do in this situation where have tensions with Russia. What would you do? They've let the Republicans go on the attack, bro, constantly. Have y'all noticed that? Have y'all noticed that do they think that smearing people and lying about people is an attack? It's really not. It's not working, guys. The Russia hoax was a fail. And they're so busy with propaganda and maintaining their story. They didn't get a chance. They haven't really sufficiently asked the Republicans. This is the problem with our entire system, guys. The balances. In our institutions supposed to say that iron sharpens iron, right? So we're parties or parties in a system are supposed to, hold accountable the other parties, make sure that they're elite and wise and always decision makers. They're supposed to bring each other up, right? Hold each other accountable. Did you cut taxes? Did you provide for the will of the American people? Right? Hold people accountable. Because if not, they won't be in office anymore. But now, guys, we don't have parties that hold each other accountable at all. We have parties that literally just smear half the electorate, and the other the other party makes half the electorate afraid of the other electorate. And it's really not working out so well, guys. It's gonna be violence next. It's gonna be violence. By the way, do you think what I'm saying is extreme, guys? Or are you? By the way, guys. Never mind, guys. I'll just play this video, actually. I'm waiting for this Carrie Lake results, bro. I'm not going to bed until I see what the hell Ms. Trump or Trump impersonator female gets elected, bro. Because she's going to be so entertaining. Arizona is going to actually fucking be worth a visit now. It's funny. These Democrats, they get me to like focus on these extreme Republican Trumpist, America First people. They fund them. But then when I focus on these America Trump First people, I realize that they're not really tested at all. They don't really need to be tested. Like the Democrat Party isn't testing them. The media isn't testing them. The media is too busy buttressing the lies of the Democratic Party. So, like, if we can't even have a good party, guys. There's no possible way in our system to literally have a good political party. Because they refuse to do their fucking jobs. And if you refuse to hold each other accountable. I wish they knew about the rule of law. I wish they knew about justice. But they definitely know about showdowns. And Carrie Lake, bro, she is going to show some people down. She's going to be like, hey, CNN Plus, fake news, propaganda. Carrie?
This is it's going to be a very race. It's, of course, a purple state and sign that he wants to distance himself from the leader.
So the Phoenix metro area has the highest inflation rate in the whole country. How has that played a role in the election?
And you have talking about that very thing. I mean, he's, of course, a Democrat talking about inflation, that 13% inflation right here in Phoenix. Gas prices, housing, the cost of groceries in this state. I mean, the voters here in this state, they really feel like that a big role shying away from
Inflation is a big role, guys. Right on that. Elected, definitely going to care about your problems. Oh my God. You know that like pesky minimum wage last 50 years? What the kid you have in fucking jail for marijuana possession in Texas? Immediately, guys. Look at this, guys. Get out. This is important. Did you use your voice? Inflation 77%. Economy 80%. Education in schools 75%. 69%. These are issues, guys. But like they were issues for the last 50 years. They have been issues for the last 50 years. Haven't they? Issues for the last 50 years, guys. You know what's the driving cost of crime? Poverty. Income inequality. Do you know what the driving cost of the challenges and non of education, school to prison pipelines, probably propaganda, and that probably gets in the way of your education at schools. You try to learn actual things that are inflation. 77%. The cost of living has increased every decade for the past 50 years, guys. Exponentially, the middle class has shrunk in 50 years, guys. Economy. In 2008, we had a recession. It was caused by, who knows what it was really caused by? I mean, we'll never really know, guys, because all we know about what happened with the banks and Wall Street, military industrial complex, was it had something to do with a upward transfer of wealth that would make elites and people of industry, and it would cause income inequality to be a rapid issue. 2008, they bailed out the banks, and too big to fail. So we went to a recession, guys. Jobs were lost. People were thrown out of their houses. Guys. So jobs were lost, right? Because of recession. Then people lost their jobs. And they couldn't pay their mortgages. So then the banks foreclosed on people's houses. I didn't have jobs or houses, guys. They literally didn't. 10 cities, bro. Yeah. That was pretty bad for the. Do you think that was bad for the economy? Well, I don't know, guys. Let's check the market numbers. Let's check the Dow. I mean, there is definitely an economic worry. I would say that's 80%. All these are big issues, guys. They can be solved. But who's going to fund me? Who's gonna fund me? Crime, Law and Order. It's funny.
He's also going to issues like the border. He's calling the mess. He says Washington has failed people. Those issues are
now we just
Arizonans by races for are so tight. When are we going to actually know?
Diane, that's a good question. I knew the answer. Look, it's probably going to be a minute. A lot of Arizona like voting early. They turn in their ballots today. Those likely will not be counted until tomorrow. So it's going to take a second. And we spoke to Hobbs. He said, look, we'll have the bulk of the votes counted by Friday or Saturday. She expects we'll have a good idea.
Second, okay? Because literally, we know if Carrie Lake's going to win, and if she does win, well, she probably cheated the election. She's a Russian traitor, conspiracy theorist. If she didn't win, then she's an election denier, big lie, insurrectionist, bro. So we got to fucking first decide, guys, before we can let you know who's going to be the governor. Guys, we have to figure out first before we can lie to you first. So no matter what happens, these most essential commands: reject what you hear and see. So far, this was the
results will be by might not get those results by this is going to be really close. These are thin margins. A lot of initiatives, 10 initiatives, a lot of things for people to this ballot might be coming in pretty late.
Doreen Shaw from Phoenix, thank you.
Thanks.
And it's control of Congress elections. 2 seats on the North Carolina Supreme Court are up for voting rights and abortion access years to come. Haley Rogers has more on that.
We're all familiar with the Supreme Court and how powerful it is.
Stop to wonder, like, so it's 2020.
Here's the thing. Candidates are taking completely different. Governor Brian Kemp, he's been running.
Hey, Governor Brian Kemp. Look what he's done for the state of Georgia. Look what he's done. What's he done? It was one of the first states to reopen after the pandemic. Oh, a lot of the voters. It was economic, wasn't it? Business owners we spoke to, they appreciate. What's he done for the people of the damn thing? But he did reopen as soon as Trump told him to. After the pandemic. Oh, good. He did something for people. So Kemp beats Stacey Abrams again, guys. Georgia. Is that Georgia? Georgia. Stacey Abrams, you're a Beto loser. You and Beto, bro. Get out of there. Maybe you should just be a consultant or just have a job on MSNBC. What do y'all think? You're like almost Hillary Clinton level loser. But it's not your fault that nobody like wants to hear your story because it's not interesting. It's probably just somebody else's story of a person who lived in, a political class-esque neighborhood, graduated from Harvard or Yale, had a camaraderie of people that were in some kind of fucking secret society. And then y'all would y'all meet up every once in a while to decide who's on the Supreme Court. Shit. Maybe it's that. But guys, I completely lost my train of thought on that. What was I even talking about? I just thought secret societies were awesome. Guys, speaking of secret societies, secret society in itself. Are you someone who doesn't bend to the will of the conventional wisdom? Someone who rebels, who questions authority, who doesn't just watch the main mainstream media and just go along with the bandwagon mentality? Are you someone like Tommy Nation Politics? Well, then make sure that you subscribe, like, and share videos. Make sure that you guys also donate. You can donate to Cash App or PayPal, Tommy Nation Politics. Capital T, capital N, capital P. One word, Tommy Nation Politics. We're a new free-thinking, innovative, and totally open-minded new independent progressive media. And we'll be giving you the scoops, guys. But, I mean, unfortunately, I'm a political commentary guy, and I'm not a journalist. So I have to wait till the media's done fucking trying to, manufacture their stories first. So I can get these results to these elections that are probably already figured out. They're just lying. And then I'm going to let you guys know what that is. And we'll go from there, guys. But one thing that I have learned this past year, as I sign off, because I don't think the results are going to be in for some of the races, and I'm tired of this shit, honestly. I can find out tomorrow. We'll find out tomorrow, whenever the absentee ballots or the mail-in ballots come in, who these people are going to be. And then it's going to be what? Activism. It's going to be organizing. It's going to be, individuals coming together, unionizing. It's going to be us guys holding these guys accountable. A, and B, making sure that we also provide general welfare. And it's going to be really hard, guys. So we should really ask, who's going to make out of all these people? I mean, we have to ask. We have to hold accountable these people to at least the point where we ask the Republicans, for God's sakes, what exactly do you intend to do? If you decide to have the House of Representatives and the Senate, are you going to continue the amount of funding for aid and weapons? Are you going to continue that amount of funding, aid and weapons that we are doing as far as Ukraine? Are you all going to actually expand it? What are they going to do as far as our policy for assisting allies, financing allies, or regime change wars? What are their policies for? What are their policies exactly, guys, for anything really? What can we hold them accountable to? What exactly is their platform? Because so far, all I've gotten was from the Republicans is they're not radical, right? They're not socialists. They're law and order kind of people, right? That are going to close the borders, whatever that means. They're going to fucking tell it like it is. They're going to be authentic to you. Are they going to tell the truth, though? Okay, well, if they tell the truth, what is their intention? What exactly do the Republicans want to accomplish in power? Because, like, if y'all were in power, wouldn't you like to accomplish something? Wouldn't you guys like to conquer something? So you probably don't understand, guys. You probably don't realize that these guys are conquerors. They're actually like, what they call it, reavers. They're raider Vikings. They destroy, go from place to place. They're like locusts. They feed on everything they touch. They dry up civilizations. And then they go to the next. So like, it's going to be hard, guys. But Republicans, like, what do y'all want? What do you want to conquer? I think it's China. There's a lot of propaganda about China. They're going to try to do a military. We're going to have a lot of conflicts out going on once. I don't know, guys. Could somebody ask them? Could somebody ask Lindsey Graham exactly how much money he wants to give Ukraine? And we'll just give it to them now. Can you guys, okay, so you guys don't want any kind of sexual anything to be taught into kindergarten. I didn't know it was, okay? You want to make a bill for it. You want to make the government, you're so freedom and free speechy, guys. You want to make a bill. You want to involve the government into policing who fucking teaches what. Guys, hilarious. Yeah. So, guys, help me. Help us, guys. I'm trying to figure out if I have another video. Oh, yeah, my propaganda videos, guys. I trailed off so hard. Before I go, I didn't get a top 5. I did get 2. They were very good. Greg Abbott, of course, Texas. So that's a ad for Beto. I'm uploading it. But we can do the so they use buzzwords and stuff like that for campaign ads. So and they said he was extreme. You're an extreme guy. They said you're radical. He came up with a really funny way to turn that propaganda around. So I put him on. I give him an honorable mention. I don't know what you're doing in office, sir, but that was clever.
Stefanowski, too extreme for Connecticut.
Dad, Ned Lamont says you're too extreme.
But you're pro-choice.
You support funding schools.
And women's health.
It should be extremely smart.
And extremely good with budgets.
That's how you'll cut taxes.
Extremely nice.
And extremely dedicated to fixing Connecticut.
Extremely great dad and husband.
Extremely tall.
And don't forget, extremely good looking.
I'm Bob Stefanowski, and I'm extremely embarrassed to approve this message.
We extremely love you.
Extremely love you. We extremely love you. Extreme to the extreme.
So see, that was interesting, right? Did that guy stop you from thinking about extreme as some kind of scary, other, strange, and foreign thing? And like kind of comforts you in his own living room? Extreme might just be a loving term. Okay? Like, just take our propaganda that was aimed at us and we could just like spin it again. I'm extremely cool. What do you think? Extreme! Yeah, so once again, nobody asking this guy what he's going to do, what are his policies, what does he plan to get done. We're going to save that for later. Media will probably remember to ask it once they're done with the results and the stories of who is doing what, whatever. This, he might not be doing it with a hammer lady. But Greg Abbott's Beto. I'm trying to get that video, guys. It's not loading. But it was just a 30-second ad about it's gonna like ruin Texas as we know it. He's not law and order. He wants to defund the police. He put everything in there, and then Beto's just like looks like a dumbass. He's like, duh. At the end. That was a good touch, Abbott. You made fucking Beto look like a fucking moron. He's like, yeah, I know it's kind of weird. Yeah, he is kind of weird, right? That is kind of dopey, right, Abbott? How Beto's just like, you're not doing anything, and he literally doesn't even know what to do. All he knows what to do is people need help. All he knows is people need help. How am I going to help them? I don't know. So, I enjoyed the fucking ass whooping that Abbott put on Beto. I have to tell you guys, out of all these little fucking Democrats, there's something about Beto that rubs me the wrong way. Just like Hillary Clinton did. Something about the non-genuine, non-authentic, extremely like, the person that's like super at work, they're like super, they care about you so much. Oh man, I want to, is everything okay? I just want to check on you, make sure everything's okay. And like, do you really think that they're caring about you? Oh my God, they really want to know. They want to know, like, are you being productive? Man, is there anything I can do? Is there like, I don't know, I wish I could do this. They're just not authentic. They're, they have a second face. I guess that's what it is better. And so, armed robbery, bro. I don't know if that's like a habit that like goes away hard. But drug driving, I understand, bro. Massive lying, I don't get it. Trying to come up with a platform. I don't know. Not having any policies. Why are you even running, bro? Why was he? Same as Hillary Clinton. Actually, Hillary Clinton. Story for her, guys. This has been Tommy Nisha Politics.
Abortion, guns, and trans family rights, all issues a massive group of moms in Texas.
The Political Action Committee called Mothers Against Greg Abbott are getting attention from a video they posted on Twitter. Our political reporter Gerald Harris talks with the group's founder, who says they want change.
Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Keep my head up when I act, head up, that's a fact. Never looking back, I'ma keep myself on track. Keep my head up, staying strong, always moving on. Feel I don't belong, tell my thoughts to move along. Push myself to be the best, die with no regrets. Live with every breath, see my message start to spread. And I had so many dreams, then you hit your teens. Life ain't really what it seems, try to find out what it means. Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Yeah, I put out all this art, it's my only medicine. Yeah, everything I do, I'm just being genuine. Yeah, I'm sick of being screwed, feel my own adrenaline. Yeah, I do just what I do, and I hope you let me in. in, let me in, yeah.